Welcome back to Challenges that we face in selling real estate, part 2. Last week we talked about 5 different thoughts that could or could not break your second half of the year, and we don't want it to break in a poor fashion. So we looked at the fact that accepting the fact that change is inevitable was the first thought, and I think it's probably the hardest thought of the 5 I gave you last week. So here we are on August 12th, and we're going to go through number 6 through 10, and I think that you'll enjoy the time we spend together today. Point number 6, time is not always on our side. Now, when you think about that, you know that is a simple fact of life, because time is not always on our side. We have to stop wishing and hoping for better results and start doing the things that bring you better results. No matter what stage you're in the business, time is always running out. You know, the sad part about it is it takes usually any place from 3 to 6 months for a new licensee to really get up and get active and get their first 1 or 2 transactions in process. But that first 3 to 6 months goes by like that. And all of a sudden, you're sitting there in a situation where you don't have the income that you anticipated, don't have the transactions, and understandably, mentally, you get somewhat defeated. If you start on day 1, start today as being day 1, and say to yourself, no matter how many transactions I've done this year, I'm going to do 2 or 3 more than I've done in the past in a given period of time, because time is running out. Number 7, everybody that you admire and adore will eventually leave. When I first read this, I thought, gosh, everybody's going to pass away. Everybody's going to die. And that wasn't what the author was thinking about at all. He wrote, we have to realize how temporary relationships often are. You get a potential buyer or seller. Maybe you get the listing. You start to develop a relationship with that particular seller. And then all of a sudden it's 3 months, 6 months, the listing hasn't sold. That relationship is going to sour pretty quick when there is not the type of activity that they anticipated that you may have sold them on in the first place. So 4 thoughts regarding extending a relationship. And these 4 thoughts come from Dr. Gunther Klaus, one of my mentors for many, many, many years. So number 1, 4 thoughts. Enjoy them while you're with them. Number 2, learn from them. Number 3, teach them. And number 4, know how to make a profit with them, for them, so together you can keep that relationship going. Relationships are temporary. Every once in a while, I think about the fact that starting in about 4 months, we'll be beginning our 50th year in the real estate business as a training company. I've been doing this longer than many of our clients have actually been alive. And it's so interesting that as long as we can enjoy the relationship, we can teach them something to make their life better, we can learn from them in return, and we can profit together, a relationship should last forever. But then I've watched over the years, we've done all 4 of those things simultaneously, and the relationship still disappears. It's called life in the big city. Number 8, hard work doesn't always guarantee a high level of success. You know, there are so many fallacies about what is hard work. And, you know, if you think about it, if I said to you, define hard work, you know, you've been in the business 5, 6, 7 years, you're an experienced veteran, you're doing a fair number of transactions per year, and can you define what hard work is? See, hard work is not just the physical presence of what you're doing, but it's the mental presence of what you're involved in. Because mentally, hard work is much more difficult than it is physically. We know what we have to do physically to get a listing. The question is, can you mentally go through the steps and the rebounds and the bounce backs and the negativity and the failure to get to that one yes, to get you that listing? Remember, you can't always control the unpredictable circumstances of the real estate business. Think about that in relationship to hard work. Number 9 on the list, enjoying what you do is a choice and an inevitable responsibility to learn how to enjoy the many ups and downs of this business. It's so fascinating to watch the joys where your attitude is here, and then the upset where your attitude is here, and it happened from one phone call. You know, you called a lead, you have a 3x5 card, you got a lead, they're ready to list, you call them, they don't answer. You call them later in the day, they don't answer. You call them the next morning and they say, well, I'm sorry, but we decided to list with somebody else. So here we are with high anticipation, high excitement. We know this is going to be a chance to do something really good for both them and ourselves, and then it's gone like that. Watch. The ups and downs of real estate, we choose how we're going to react to the circumstances of real estate. I have to tell you, many years ago I was invited by a Central California Board of Realtors to do a 2 days, I think it was 2.5-day seminar. And I was excited about it because, first of all, I could drive to that particular location instead of having to get on a plane and fly for 4 or 5 hours. And they told me they would have about 300 people. And I get there probably at 3:30, 4 o'clock the day before it starts, and the people in charge pick me up at the airport. We go to the meeting room, and they have a beautiful meeting room. They have 300 chairs set up. I mean, it was first-class operation all the way. We went and had a nice dinner together. The next morning, I said, I'll be there at 8 o'clock for 9 o'clock start. The president and the education director said, okay, they'll be there too. And at 8:30, it was still the three of us. And that happens. Sometimes people get tied up in traffic if they get late. But at 8:45, there was still just the three of us. And at about 5 minutes to 9, a man comes in with a cane, probably in his mid-80s, big smile on his face, and said, am I the first one here? I said, you are, sir, indeed. He said, well, I'm sure there'll be a big crowd. Finally, at 9:30, there was the man with the cane, the president of the board, education director, and myself. Nobody showed up except for those three people. So to make this thing work, I said, I have a great idea. A Denny's restaurant across the street. Why don't I buy you breakfast and give you an outline of what I was going to talk about? And we did that for about an hour and a half, and then I drove home. Sometimes the circumstances that we anticipate and expect do not actually come to us the way we thought. Point number 10, and this is an interesting point. You are the author of your business and the author of your life. We choose the path we take as we choose the reaction to the path we take. If you were to write a book, how many chapters would you have that would attract somebody's attention and they would want to look forward to hearing about the life you have led so far? Well, we're the author of the book. You know, Sabrina, my wife, says to me all the time, you need to write a book about your life as a speaker, as a trainer, as a coach. I said, boring. I said, nobody wants to read that kind of stuff. They want to know today what we can do today to make today a better day for each of us. So remember, we are the author of our own life. So it's the week of August 12th. August, for many of our clients, is always a record-setting month. And it's a record-setting month because they stay highly motivated. And next week, we're going to talk about some thoughts on how to stay highly motivated. Thanks for today. See you next week.